one time. This was a very large chimney sweep office in the United States. Sell a lot of heat shield, a lot of smoke chamber repairs, and I got them in class and I asked the girls in the office. I said, I need one of y'all to tell me, just like you, Brenda, tell me how you part your smoke chamber. Not a single one of them could answer the question. Now, how many smoke chambers have been sold over the years? I said, well, let's stop the office a minute. I went to a video, asked the chimney sweep how to chill a smoke chamber, 3-minute video, every girl in there, after that 3-minute video and about 2 minutes of explanation, could sell a smoke chamber. What does that ask the chimney sweep video cost you? Nothing. Nothing. These are all the training aids that are right there in front of us all the time. It's all the time. Now here's the other thing you can't do. You cannot make a subject matter expert in all phases of your business at one time. People can only learn one skill at a time. When you hire somebody new, you've got to decide what is going to be the strategy for this person to move through the company. Right now, when you hire someone new, you need to make sure that they know that in 30 days, they will know these are the things that you will conquer in the first 30 days. In the second 30 days. In the third 30 days. What is the point when you hire a technician in, you got roughly 4 to 5 years before he's probably going to be gone if you're lucky. 4 to 5 years. Lee, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So when we bring this guy in, we're going to get 4 to 5 years. And he's probably going to move on to something else. The quicker we can get him into a productive point, the better off we are. So when you hire somebody, what is the pinpointed date that they will be certified and ready to go on the truck? What's the date? You got that date? Huh? You need to be at 160 days, max. That is not work days, that is calendar days. Calendar days. That person needs to be producing income in 4 months. Matt, would you agree with my analysis? Can it be done? It so certainly can. It can be done, but it's only going to be done if you put down the requirements. If anybody wants those requirements, I will be glad to send you. Just email me, Jerry, send me your training, the training layout, and I'll send you the exact 3-year plan. Jim, you got it recently, right?
Yes, sir.
So everybody's my clients got this. It's on your computers. I've transferred it. It's all in that Jerry file that's on your computer. You remember Shelley? Remember the Jerry file? All the stuff? It's right there. So what you got to do then is tell them what do you want to learn the first 30 days? What do you want them to command? Here's what you can't do. You're never going to develop a chimney sweep, a repair guy, a pellet guy, a gas guy. You're not going to make it all in one in a year. You got to develop the skills as they go along. Agree, Mark? If you try to be all encompassing, you also got to understand this. If you're trying to train a technician to be a salesman and he doesn't have that ability, he will never become that ability. You got to decide. You got certain people that have sales skills, certain people don't. One of the biggest things we've done in this industry is we try to turn technicians that are very good technicians, we try to turn them into salespeople, and they suck as salespeople. They suck. Agree? They do. So that's where the right seat, the right people, but it also goes down to us. So, projector, screen, television monitor, computer to connect to projector. If you look, there's an HDMI cable going here, HDMI cable going here. This TV can handle 4 computers. All I got to do is go 1 to 1. It makes it a lot easier than trying to go to that computer and go from YouTube to other. I'm using 2 computers. The only purpose of that computer is strictly playing videos and music, right? Only purpose. I didn't want them up tight, so we got 25-foot cables running across there. We knew how far we wanted to go. All the things, that's what you got to do to make it happen. Something to write on. The method for the student to take notes. Did you notice you didn't have to bring your own paper? If you brought it, it was great. When you handed notepads when you came in here. where you handed ink pads when you came in here. Little Chuckies were sitting in front of it when you came in here, right? All the different things, all the little tools. That's what you have to do to your people. What I'm gonna recommend you do in your companies is, you need to assemble training notebooks for all your team members. And these training notebooks are continuous, ongoing documents that every time they're training, they go back to this spiral-bound notebook that all their notes are in this one notebook. So they can refer back to these notes years later. They can refer back to them. Remember what I told you, Wally? Remember what I told you earlier? Writing is more effective than memory than typing in a computer. Writing will magnify your retention 700%. If your people are sitting there and you're training them and they're not taking notes, it's a real easy way around this. Ask them a couple questions later and break them from sucking eggs. Ask them a couple questions. They can't come out. It's real simple. You know, if you make some notes, you may be able to remember this stuff. You got to remember that these people are you. You got to lead them. You got to have this relationship. If training's under 15 minutes, student standing will be more effective than if they're sitting. Writing the notes, the whole 9 yards, it all comes together. If training aids are viewed, can they be viewed by all attendees? The problem with this room is, Bill's sitting in here, I've been concerned ever since I go behind you to see if the screen can actually be seen. We actually thought about 2 TVs in here, one going that way, one this way, so it could be viewed. I wish I could have hung this on the wall. I tried to get them to put a hanger up here, because if I got it a little farther back to the wall, you could have seen it. Do you guys understand there's a light bulb behind this screen? We unplugged it, we unscrewed the light bulbs so you didn't have the lights coming over the screen. Gave you better lights. All this making sense, Greg? These are all the things that you take into account. Will the setting for the training be effectively hot, cold, uncomfortable, I'll misspell again. Incomfortable conditions will affect the conclusion. It got hot in here yesterday. I took my jacket off. We found out the heat wasn't right. It's getting warm again. Yeah, it's getting warmer. It's cold, okay? Okay, you good. As an instructor, set yourself where you are at a higher level. Do you see that I've got stools here, that even when I'm resting my legs, I'm looking down at you? I cannot effectively teach eye to eye. Once you are eye to eye, you're going to lose your effectiveness as a trainer. When you're sitting around a round table, you're not going to be as effective as you are when you're standing up. If you'll notice, when I sit down here, I'm resting my legs. I'm primarily using this. I'm still looking down at y'all. That's to make the effective training that much better. It's all the aids you're doing. I'm telling you all the things that we go to school for. Stools are okay if the students are seated. If the students are standing, always stand. Never as an instructor have your students standing up and you're sitting down. This is critical. Always start on time. Always start on time. This class started on 9 o'clock on the dot last 2 days. Some people weren't here this morning on time. We still start on time. We're not going to delay for other people. If you delay the start of your class, then your authority is going to be wrecked. You have to start your stuff on time. Always finish on time. Always have an agenda. The only problem with this agenda is I'm the only one that knows it.
I haven't a clue.
She has no idea. The only person that knows this agenda is me. Greg, do you have any idea what we're doing here? None whatsoever. Ken didn't, nobody does. Always know what you'll be doing at all future times in training. I know what we're going to be doing this afternoon all the way to the conclusion is. No one else knows. As you noticed a while ago when she sat down, I said, just be ready in case I call you back up again. Remember me saying that?
Also, can I say something here?
Yeah.
The bad thing about this is it was hard for us to predict because we haven't done this one before. So how much can you put in a 10-pound box? Jerry came very close to it, but we did run a little different yesterday. We're running a little different today. But with him being the only one that knows it, he's in control.
Yeah. The question that's commonly asked is, I get asked this a lot as a trainer. When you do a presentation, how many minutes is a slide supposed to work for? I can talk about a slide, and I go through a slide in 30 seconds. I can pop them 30 seconds at a time. I can also talk about one slide for 2 hours. There's no rule of thumb. It's what do you need up here to reinforce with you. Always know where you're going, what your objective is. When you look back at the beginning, what was the first thing that we did? Cheryl came up and got your objectives for this seminar, right? We wanted to know what you were expecting, what you wanted to get. If you were completely on something else, I got to go home last night and I got to do a whole bunch of writing, put a whole bunch of stuff together for today. We didn't have to do that. Audio and videotaping. I showed you how easy it is. A YouTube channel. Uploading videos is very quick. You put your videos when you do them. Anytime that you're reviewing yourself, it's not expensive. Rudy sitting behind you right now is a tripod, right?
Yep.
That's a pretty good tripod, ain't it?
Seems like it.
It's a very good tripod. That tripod's about $100. The camera on top of it's about $225. It's got an SD card in it. That's all I need for a video studio. If you ever see my videos taken that are on the internet, that's me talking, that's what we're using right there. That's it. We got some photographic lights. It's really easy to do this stuff. YouTube channel. This is key. Review yourself. Review yourself. Review where you're sitting. Review what your eye motion is doing. Review what's going on. Anytime you're doing a training, review yourself. You should be videotaping yourself. Chris, when you're training guys, videotape yourself, even if it's just for you to look at later and see what you did. Making sense? Jessica, is this making sense to you? These are the type of things that are going to separate it. And what you're doing is, you're building your training library. You're building a training library up. You've always got to attempt to be the most knowledgeable person in the room on the subject matter. If you want to know scary, the most scariest seminar I ever did was a gas logs for chimney sweep seminar, an 8-hour seminar, and two of my students were Jim Brewer and Bob Wise. You think that weren't scary? I got two of the biggest gas experts in the business. And you know what I did? I involved them both in the seminar. Worked like a charm. Jim's smart on gas, guys. Smart on gas. Bob's smart on gas. I even involved them. When it got to the real complicated stuff, I said, you know, that's so simple. I'm going to ask my chauffeur in the back of the chair back there if he'll answer that question to you. That makes sense, Greg? Okay? So, if you're required to train and someone is more knowledgeable than you, build your knowledge prior to the training. And see, one of the problems are, if you're not respected, your students will try to take over your training. If you don't have influence, and Greg, we talked about that in training class that we did for our trainers here last month, didn't we? We talked about controlling the class. Controlling the class. If you can't control your students and they take over the class, it's your own fault. And that's one of the problems. I've never had that problem. But some people do have that problem. So we talked about all the students, and you've got to control the class, what's there. Again, trainers must become subject matter experts. Have you done it? One of the greatest trainers ever in this industry was Dave Pomeroy. Dave Pomeroy could train on anything. Hope and I and Cheryl and Gary, Hope's husband, had dinner in Phoenix 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. We were in Phoenix and we were in a class, and Hope and I talked about her dad and how he became this. He worked for the Boy Scouts at one time. It was always my dream to teach with Dave one day. Dave passed away. But Dave could train on anything. If you told Dave, I need a training on how to build this bar stool right here, Dave would know, and he would take this thing apart, he would rebuild it, he would do it, and you could walk into a classroom and a week later, and in my line grade, Dave Pomeroy was a subject matter expert on whatever you gave him. He ate it up, didn't he? He ate it up because being able to share that knowledge, that was his passion. If you don't know how to do it, read about it. Interview someone who does it well. It's one thing it does. It's one thing you go through in training. You learn that you interview people. You get other ideas. You open up your mind. You find out what the experts can do about it. And when you do that, it's amazing what you can learn to move forward. Can you explain it properly? Can you explain it where everybody understands it? And this is where your visual aids are going to come into play. If you think you can be a trainer and just walk into a room and be effective, you can on occasion. The neat thing, I've often said, the neat thing about Owens being a client is, Chris, I show up sometimes, y'all know I'm coming in the door, right? Something, Jessica's shaking, yes, he does. Anyway, so I can walk in. I walked into company meetings. I pretend, really questions come up sometime. I'm working from the cuff at this point, right? Yep. They come off. But you're coming off as a subject matter expert. And when you do this, but you know, basically when you put it together, you better have your stuff together. Can you explain it properly? And this is the key one. I don't care how good you are, if the person you're telling it to cannot comprehend it, you missed the point. You missed it. You missed it completely. So everyone with all the different brains has got to be able to comprehend this. You got to be able to use photos, graphics, and charts. All these different things are going to come into play. A while ago, I watched Cheryl putting a chart up that showed a piece of pie, right? How hard was that to make that? 5 minutes. Your charts, your graphics, all these things. When you look at it, have you noticed all of our PowerPoints that I use are identified with my company? I have my own logos and everything else. I'm wanting to change this right now, but everything is there on this. What's your background colors? There's white. There's black. There's green. There's dark green. There's red. When I do sales training, I use red backgrounds with yellow type. It's very effective. You got to be looking at what you're looking for. Yellow, it blinds you. See how that goes out? All your colors, everything comes into play. Looking at your sizes and types. If you look up here, look what all I've done. If you go across the top, coming into here, look at all the different ways you can make an A. And the list keeps going. All kinds of styles, aren't there? All kinds of styles. All sizes, all colors. So when you look at this, let me ask this. When you look across here, which of these colors jumps out at you the best? The red? The green? The highlighted green like this, different ones. But if you look at it, you see how that activates your senses? Simply by making different colors. When I go to the next slide, you're going to see something else. You have a split screen, and on this side, what I've done, I got a black background with a white background, all these different colors. Over here, I've got a black background, all these different colors. Making sense? Everybody understanding this? It's all in your visual aids. Are you also noticing that I'm moving around? Are you noticing I'm making eye contacts with you? Are you noticing I'm looking over here? I'm looking over here. Are you noticing I'm not looking back here? When I look back there, I'm in trouble. Because I can see right there exactly what's here. I don't have to look back there. I'm looking there because if I'm doing this, I can't effectively talk to you. Make sense? So these are things you're doing. You can take photographs and throw them in the slides and show all kinds of different things. I can put type into the photographs when I want into it. If you don't have that circle up there, I want to focus your eyes and the arrows focus your eyes in the different colors, how you're doing the visual aids, how you're getting this across. If you're going to be an effective trainer, you've got to learn how to put your training aids together. Your training aids together. The common question people ask the trainer coming in here are, you don't have no handouts? No. Have you ever noticed you don't come to a seminar I do handouts? If you had handouts, your mind would be wandering through the handouts going to the next page. If you'll notice this morning, you were given a handout, which was a wheel of life. That was handed out when it was time. Otherwise, it would have been on the table. It wouldn't have had its effectiveness. You remember when you did the color changes help on the mind mapping? Having the different colors. Activating your minds. That's what you're going to do. Because this is what you got to look at. Going back to the scientific side of this. These are the different learning styles of what's out there. This is what's called Kolb's style of learning. Under concrete experience, some people cannot learn unless they are doing it or having an experience. To show you what I'm talking about, you will never train some people to break out flue tiles so you put the breaker in their hands and they go up and beat the skin off their knuckles a couple times. You can talk to your blue in the face about how to do it. They will never, ever be able to do it till they've done it. Earl, do you remember when I was there and I said, you know, you've got that shop area out there and you want to train these people for flashing. Remember this? Because the problem is, Earl's the flasher man, right? Well, the problem is, Earl can only do so much flashing, right? So the other guys are building a chimney, doing masonry work. Well, we can't get our money till Sir Earl shows up to do the flashing. Am I right? This is ridiculous. Why don't we train other people? Number one, Earl's got us kind of hostage here, D. Right? Yeah. You're in management side now. I can tell you this stuff, okay? But the other thing is, we could collect the money today. We never even involve him. See what I'm saying? So what I said then was, we need to build a training module out here in this warehouse. Because in Grand Rapids, Michigan, it gets cold in the wintertime. 3 foot of snow ain't nothing for these people. They carry snow blowers, okay? They plow their way to the chimneys up there. You know, I'm coming from a part of the country, we close the schools when it's going and when they think it may snow tomorrow. Reflective observation, they review it, they reflect on the experience. It's what you're doing in this room. They plan it, they try it out. What have you learned? They got to be questioned. In this environment, we cannot do this. I do not have time to ask all of you individually, well, what did you think? What did you learn? If we did, we'd be all the way back at lunchtime yesterday. I cannot engage in that in this environment. Would never go nowhere. If I tried to engage in that in this environment, some of y'all would get so mad you would have left yesterday at lunchtime. You can't deal with that. But this is what you've got to deal with your people more than likely. Abstract conceptualization, concluding, learning from the experience. You've got to know this about all people. Cheryl went into some of this a while ago, right, Cheryl? Experience, reflective observation, watching, thinking, doing, feeling. I'm a person that is, if I have a computer problem on my computer, if Cheryl comes back, I say, I need some help. Sometimes I say, I need some help with this computer again. This computer is driving me crazy. Is that pretty right? Now at this point, Cheryl's natural tendency is to come in and fix it for me, right? But the problem is she does that and it does it again, I can't fix it. So the problem is, tell me what you're going to do and I do it. Now at this point, I'm good for next time. But if I simply let her tell me, then the next time it happens, and I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and she ain't available, I'm going to be like this again. This woman never answers my phone when I need it. She's always, right? Unless you're with someone else. Not bad at you, but I mean, this is mine, okay? I want instant gratification. When I want something, I want it now, right? Give you a lot of like, well, now, right? Or right now, right here, right now. What do you mean? I don't have a long range of
No attention span.
no attention span, okay? This is what you're looking at. Some people can hear it. Some people have got to see it and hear it. Some people got to read it and write it down. See it done. all kinds of, and see, this is what you gotta understand. Within your company, you're gonna find all of these learning styles. And Joe, you understand it now. Chris is in one learning style. Jim was in one learning style. Justin's in another learning style. Jimmy's in another, and Joe's in this one. And it's like this, right? And I'm ready to blow. And it doesn't do us a bit of good. It just ages us faster. We have heart attacks, we go on, our blood pressure suffers, whatever. And I just got to get out of here and get some relief. Okay? So from this type of stuff, that's what you got to learn. You got to be able to touch all these styles. It's actually divided down further in the visual, the oral, the verbal, the physical, the logical, the social, the solitary. These are all the different learning styles. All of those styles exist in this room right now. And the classroom settings such as this, myself and Cheryl, as much as we can, have tried to touch all 7 of these learning styles. All 7. Do you agree? Every single one of them. We're limited. It would have been really good to bring a Generation X, a Millennial, all this, actually have them here. We got to put them through the test. We got to use them for subject matters. Go to the Millennial place, see if I can borrow a couple from them, you know? Nah. But that's what you've got to do. The the learning styles must be recognized by supervisory personnel, or failure will be another misspelled word code. I'm such a failure. But this is what's got to go on. Mark, you're in the where'd Mark go? He left. Mark is an operations manager. So Mark's got to be very aware of all these different sides. Mike, your guys have got to be aware that these are all the styles. Now what you got to understand is that if you can't recognize all these styles, whose fault is it? Theirs. It's your fault because you hired them, you put them in charge, you empowered them. It's their fault. Is it the employee's fault? No. Because that's our job in leadership. That's the hardest thing. I ran the mic last night. We talked a little bit at the steakhouse. Ashton wouldn't pick up on, and he told me something. It was good things you said. But it came to realization. You came to some very astute realizations last night. These are hard. These are hard. Are they hard? They're painful. But it's the realizations you go to when you go through the learning experience, because in this learning experience, we've got to touch all of these, because these are what's going on. So in this room, in 2 days' time, of over 50 people, we've had to touch every one. We've had to touch them in a way that, number one, is anyone in here at this point feel like I don't have faith in you as being a leader? I have told you you have the intelligence, the skills, and everything else, and I have videotape to prove it. Everyone here has those skills. Everyone here, there's no one here that's not mentally capable of doing this. There's no one here that a language barrier has hurt them. Okay? Mike, you guys have a Hispanic background, right? Have you understood everything I said? Correct. You understand? See, this is what you got to understand. Years ago, I was teaching a class. And this is what I've learned about the Hispanic style of learning. The Hispanic style has a high failure rate of the CSI certification exam. Agree, Mike? It's not just your people, it's all over. Okay? And the reason being, the Hispanic doesn't comprehend English in the written as well as it does in spoken. Agree, Shelley? And that is and you have to recognize that. In fact, I tried